Hi, ALIAS Chamber Ensemble here today to play and chat about two of our favorite pieces, which were heavily influenced by folk music in America. But first, let us introduce ourselves and our instruments.
We have Louise and Allie, Sari, and Chris.
Hi, I'm Allie and I play the violin, and it is the smallest instrument in the string family. It also plays the highest notes. It has 4 strings, and I play it with a bow, or I can play it by plucking the string like this. The highest note I can play is up here. What about you, Chris?
Well, I play the viola, and this is the viola right here, and it's a little bit bigger than the violin, but I play it under the chin, just like the violin, but I play lower notes than the violin. I can't play nearly as high as Allie. This is my highest note. It's not very high, but I can play lower notes. I can play down on this string here.
The lowest note I can play is this.
And this is my lowest note.
And now we have the cello, which obviously I can't put it on my chin because it's way bigger than the violin and the viola. So we play it like this, sitting down. And here's my lowest note. And we can play really high too. Yeah, and the only difference, it's also made out of wood, but the only difference besides the size is we have this pin here to keep the cello from slipping.
Our first piece was written by an American composer named Florence Price. Price was actually the first Black woman composer to gain notoriety as a classical composer, and the first to have her piece played by a large professional orchestra. She was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, but lived in Atlanta for a while before eventually moving to Chicago in 1927 in order to escape Jim Crow laws and racist violence in the South. In Chicago, Price flourished as a composer and became friends with other artists like poet Langston Hughes or singer Marian Anderson. She won many awards for her compositions and was best known for her arrangements and interpretations of spirituals. Despite this talent, she was relatively unfamous in the classical world during her life, often hiding her own identity as a Black woman in order to continue working as a composer. Thankfully, modern ensembles all over have begun to rediscover her music, program her pieces, and finally recognize her as an iconic and important American composer. Listen as we play Florence Price's Swing Low, Sweet Chariot from her collection of 5 folk songs. The next piece was written by Antonin Dvorak, a Czech composer famous for composing pieces of music in the Romantic era, heavily influenced by folk music around the world. His last name is spelled Dvorak, but pronounced Dvorak. Cool, right? He also always looked this intense, but he seems like he was a pretty nice guy. He loved trains, but kind of hated being out in public, so he mostly just stayed inside with his family and wrote amazing music. The piece you'll hear next is the third movement from his String Quartet number 12, more commonly known as his American Quartet, because, well, he wrote it while he was living in America. Some say this piece was heavily influenced by Dvorak's colleague and friend Harry T. Burleigh, who was one of America's first Black composers to make distinctly American-style classical music, and who taught Dvorak to sing spirituals. This movement is also fun because Dvorak thought he mimicked the song of the scarlet tanager bird he heard while he was living in rural Iowa, but bird experts later say it was actually more likely that the song he heard was from this more intense-looking red-eyed vireo. No matter what bird it is, Dvorak loved the time he spent in America and composed some of his best pieces while living here. Here is the third movement of Dvorak's American Quartet.